Borderlands 3, this is the highly anticipated sequel to the highly popular franchise. It's actually launching a lot sooner than you might think, a little over a month from now on September 13th, 2019. The excitement for this game is certainly palpable, and a lot of people seem to agree that it really does look like a great game, but all that positive PR has been stained by extraneous circumstances. There are a lot of shenanigans surrounding Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford, a catalyst for all these shady stories, and most recently, Take-Two has come under fire for some of their recent actions. This latest story centers around a YouTuber going by the name SupMatto, whose channel primarily focuses on Borderlands coverage, and a significant portion of it revolves around leaked information. Over the past few months, he's managed to break quite a number of Borderlands 3 news and details before their official announcement. Now, over the last few days, word began to spread that Take-Two went directly after Matto due to some of the most recent leaks that he reported on. There are two accounts of what happened. Right here, we have Matto himself providing a statement about the situation, and on the other hand, Take-Two has spoken with various media outlets to share their side of the story. So first things first, let's talk about what Matto had to say. He began by thanking those who waited a few days for an official statement from him before reporting on the story, as there has been a lot of misinformation and exaggeration spreading about on what's actually happened. And then he emphasized that his account is his own interpretation of the events and that they in no way, shape represent how involved companies feel. From there, he broke down the timeline of events. This all began on Thursday, July 25th, 2019, when private investigators, in his words, showed up to his home, trespassed on his private property, and questioned him. He expressed he felt tense when all of this happened, as he was essentially faced with two strangers in suits showing up at his home unannounced. While in hindsight he thinks he shouldn't have spoken to them, as his lawyers, law enforcement, and family recommended after the incident, he did speak with them back then because he felt he had nothing to hide. Before we go on, just as a general tip, even if you have nothing to hide, get a lawyer if you're being investigated, whether it be by the police or private investigators, what have you. Make sure they're operating within the confines of the law. Make sure you know how to play the cards right. Get a lawyer. Anyway, Matto eventually conveyed that the suits introduced themselves. They said that they worked for Take-Two and asked him some questions about his channel and a live stream from which information was leaked that instigated all of this. And that conversation went on for about 30 minutes, according to Matto. From there, Matto explained the nature of the leak, which began on April 29th, 2019, when the official Borderlands YouTube page uploaded this video spotlighting Borderlands 3's Twitch extension. In that video, viewers eventually noticed this username comprised of a random string of characters that at a glance looked like it was some fake Twitch account that's there as a placeholder, but people then quickly discovered it was actually a real testing account which was linked to various other similar accounts as well, and in these accounts, people found unreleased Borderlands 3 gameplay. While I believe the footage itself wasn't accessible, the thumbnails were, which allowed users to glean at certain bits of information that weren't meant for the public eye. So Matto eventually learned of all this once people spread the word on Reddit and social media, so he and other Borderlands content creators followed up, assuming that perhaps this was some kind of ARG with the Twitch account maybe purposely placed in the footage in order to get people to participate, and also because it was within their prerogative to follow these kinds of breadcrumbs. Matto then said that after having reflected on the situation, he believes his excitement got the better of him, that what he did was a shitty thing to do, perhaps him referring to signal boosting this leaked stuff on his YouTube channel, despite knowing that Borderlands 3 developers and Take-Two wouldn't want this stuff to get out. I don't know, he seemed regretful, he didn't fully elaborate, maybe it has to do with him knowing that this might get him in trouble and he still went for it. So that's the story behind the leaks that got Matto into trouble, which leads into the private investigator showing up on July 25th, which then leads to the next event, which was his channel getting 7 copyright strikes in a single day the following day on July 26th from 2K. In case you don't know, YouTube's policy is that if you get 3 copyright strikes, your channel gets taken down, so one could argue that those 7 copyright strikes had very clear intent. But then out of the blue, 6 of those 7 copyright strikes went away, and Matto doesn't know if this was Take-Two who decided to pull back or if YouTube intervened somehow. All he knows is that one day all 7 strikes were there, and then next thing he knew, only 1 was there, and that strike will expire at the end of October 2019. And because it's just the 1 strike, his channel is still intact. From there, Matto talked about his Discord account and server, both of which were terminated minutes after the private investigators left his home, with the reasoning provided by Discord being, quote, "Your account was involved in selling, promoting, or distributing cheats, hacks, or cracked accounts." Matto said he didn't do any of those things, that he doesn't know who reported him for doing these things, and he also said that he wouldn't make any assumptions, as others have been spreading the possibility that maybe Take-Two and 2K were directly involved with what happened with the Discord. But he does note the message he got notifying him of his account and server termination felt automated. It wasn't like a person who typed this out, but rather something that gets sent out with whenever the system detects something like this happening. After apologizing to fans for the sudden disappearance of the Discord, he also addressed what happened with his Twitter account, which also suddenly was taken down and up and vanished. Many people assumed that this was also Take-Two and 2K's doing, but Matto insisted that this bid was actually his doing, that he took down his own Twitter account of his own volition in order to limit questions he kept getting asked and to limit all the theorizing spreading around, though he acknowledged that he ultimately actually made things worse by going radio silent like this, which is why he decided to release this video. Finally, after thanking those who waited to hear from him before reporting on this whole story, he said that he's going on hiatus and taking a break from YouTubing and Borderlands in order to figure out what he wants to do and to see how he feels come September. So that's Matto's side of the story, and once it gained traction, fans on Twitter immediately began criticizing Take-Two and 2K for what many are perceiving to be shady intimidation tactics from a big corporation, which is what got the hashtag #BoycottBorderlands3 trending. With that out of the way, let's now take a look at how Take-Two has responded to all this. When reached out by website IGN, Take-Two and 2K claimed that there is more to the story than Matto is relaying in his video. Here's the statement that they provided. Take-Two and 2K take the security and confidentiality of trade secrets very seriously. The action we've taken is the result of a 10-month investigation and a history of this creator profiting from breaking our policies, leaking confidential information about our product, and infringing our copyright. The information he's sharing about the situation is incomplete and in some cases untrue. Not only were many of his actions illegal, but they were negatively impacting the experience of other content creators and our fans in anticipation for the game. We will take the necessary actions to defend against leaks and infringement of our intellectual property that not only potentially impact our business and partners, but more importantly may negatively impact the experiences of our fans and customers. Worth noting is that since the whole debacle began, Matto has deleted several of his videos containing leaked Borderlands 3 information from his YouTube channel, though not all of them. A few are still up there. The reasoning behind this has not been explained, but one possible assumption is that, not wanting to risk getting into more trouble with Take-Two and 2K, Matto perhaps decided that the safest thing to do right now was just to take them down and avoid more potential issues. Something else IGN brought up in the article was that according to sources, at one point, Matto had listed access to a private Discord channel containing leaked Borderlands 3 information as part of the perks for anyone who became a member of his YouTube channel for $5 a month, which may tie into the termination of his Discord channel as a result of, quote, selling, promoting, or distributing cheats, hacks, or cracked accounts. While leaked information doesn't really fall into the purview of cheats, hacks, and cracked accounts, this notification does talk about selling stuff, and so Matt selling leaked information or access to leaked information in exchange for people becoming members of his YouTube channel and paying him $5 a month, Matto potentially having used this leaked information to make direct transactions for money, services, and or goods might have contributed to the termination of his Discord server and account. And it might be in large part why Take-Two and 2K are claiming illicit activities. IGN also called to attention the fact that Submato has been posting leaks relaying accurate details months ahead of Borderlands 3's official reveal, calling into question where exactly that information even comes from. Furthermore, on the topic of the most recent occurrence with the Twitch thumbnail leaks, IGN had this to say: "We were told that it was an exploit in Twitch's security that allowed Submato's community to data mine their way into getting access to thumbnail previews on what were private test streams. This put Submato's claims in his Borderlands 3 videos into question." Now, from what I personally understand, there was no data mining involved, except that screenshots of thumbnails were taken after Gearbox left private videos up without knowing that the thumbnails are actually visible. You can certainly call it a flaw in Twitch's security, but claiming that Submato data mined his way into getting these thumbnails seems quite the reach. A few last things IGN's article relayed was that both Twitch and Discord were investigating Mato's accounts in each respective platform, and it was also noted that 2K and Take-Two aren't pursuing legal action as of the publishing of this article, though investigation into this whole situation is still ongoing. So as far as what we know right now in terms of hard facts, this is where we're at. Now, I know for many of you, the immediate temptation will be to take a side, with Mato getting a lot of support from various communities and his own fan base, but I, for one, don't know if I can take a side yet with the information that we currently have, because there's still a lot of blanks to fill in. It's still all he said, she said. All I can say is that we might be looking at one of two scenarios. The first scenario is that Mato didn't actually do anything illegal, as Take-Two claims, and this whole debacle is just Take-Two vastly overreacting and overstepping their boundaries. While I know that companies do have a right to protect their trade secrets, while I understand that leaks suck for game companies and game developers, and they do tangible harm to marketing campaigns, it is important to understand that someone who is reporting on information obtained from third-party sources is just the messenger. As long as that individual didn't sign any NDAs with the company or didn't directly contribute to thieving and leaking the information in question, and as long as no illegal activities took place along the way, they are allowed to disclose that information, to report it, and to talk about it. I mean, the ability to do that is what allows investigative journalism to exist. Now, there's definitely something to be said about people using leaked information responsibly, doing the ethical thing, and not leaking things just for the sake of leaking things and getting views and ruining certain things for developers and for consumers. And whether you think Mato did that or not with the leaked information he had is up to you to decide, but from a legality standpoint, if all he did was report on legitimately obtained information, regardless of whether Take-Two liked that information getting out there or not, he's in the clear. The one who should be investigated in this scenario and could actually get into a lot of trouble are the leakers who actually violated company policy and intentionally leaked confidential material, or the leakers who may not have done this intentionally but rather slipped up and inadvertently leaked confidential material. They're the ones who should be in the red, not the people just talking about the information that's out there. Now, when it comes to YouTube, this is a platform that has its own policies in regards to copyrighted content that all creators must abide by. Regardless of whether your reasons for reporting on leaked content is valid or not, if it does contain copyrighted material, companies can issue a takedown, and the only way to fight back is pretty much by appealing and then eventually probably taking the company to court. YouTube has this ass-backward system where your content is punished before a verdict is reached. It's guilty before proven innocent rather than innocent before proven guilty, which is what makes YouTube's copyright system so abusable and what allows companies like Take-Two to issue 7 copyright strikes at the snap of a finger. Now, with all that said, there is a second possible scenario where there might really be more to this whole debacle than meets the eye, that Mato maybe did take things one step too far in his pursuit and handling of leaked confidential copyrighted information and material, as Take-Two claims. So, for example, what we talked about before, it's one thing to report on leaked confidential copyrighted content, it's a whole other thing to use that content to make direct transactions, like offering this leaked information in exchange for YouTube membership or whatever it is. If something like that actually happened, and if there's more stuff like this that we don't know about, that's where we might actually start getting into a legal slippery slope where Take-Two could have some legal grounds. So these are the two potential scenarios, one where Matto didn't really do anything legally wrong other than pissing off a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and another where Matto might have actually overstepped in a number of ways, some ways which we may not even know about, and until the story develops further, and until more information comes to light, I'd rather not jump the gun and lean towards one way or the other. I'll admit, my knee-jerk inclination is to side with the YouTuber rather than this company that has consistently proven itself to be greedy and shady, and Take-Two using the term data mining to describe thumbnail screen grabs already puts their side of the story into question. But until this becomes more than just he said, she said, I think the best thing I can do is just hold out and just present the information and then see where things go. With all that said, though, I will say this: sending private investigators to a YouTuber's house because some gameplay information got out? What the hell? The nuclear option much? Take-Two could just as easily go through proper channels and contact the proper authorities to carry out an investigation in a manner that doesn't make the company look like they're going out of their way to send a message, if you will. If Take-Two really does have tangible legal grounds, they could have easily issued a cease and desist or send out a legal notice or contact the YouTuber directly through less menacing means to sort this out in a manner that doesn't make the company look like freaking mobsters. This isn't the first time something like this has happened either. Recall that back in 2015, a Grand Theft Auto 5 modder who was creating a multiplayer mod for the game called 5M had a similar experience, as Take-Two felt that the GTA 5 mod used the company's own product to directly compete against GTA Online, which is of course their precious cash cow. As reported by PC Gamer back then, the modder's account of the events reads as follows: So I just got a pair of PIs at my door claiming to be sent by Take-Two, handing me a phone with a person somewhere in the UK or US or whatever to discuss how to seize my activities with regard to Grand Theft Auto, that they know what happened before with Activision and want to not get the lawyers involved at this time. However, they have tested their legal standing already and are quite certain of their point and aren't willing to accept any solution other than seizing my activities. Oh, and also couldn't disclose any conversations they're having with other modification developers. Didn't want to talk about general modification policy as it was just about my case, and admitted they looked through my source code. Fun times. See, crap like this is where Take-Two completely loses me in situations like this. This kind of unnecessary corporate grandstanding and aggression that can easily be perceived as bullying, intimidation, and harassment. Stuff that's just incredibly bad optics and in very poor taste. You want to carry out an investigation? Fine, but show some class and don't send goons in suits to someone else's private property like a friggin' douche. Seriously, what other game company does this? Like, I get how important it is for developers and companies to reveal the right information at the right time. I get that leaks can be legitimately harmful and deflate excitement. Me personally, I think the only justification for leaking is if game companies are intentionally holding back important information that consumers should know about before pre-orders go online and before they are told to make a purchase. But sending goons in suits and giving off the sense that you're about to make an offer that can't be refused is not something that's going to garner sympathy. With all that said, as far as the series of events and what actually went on between Matto and Take-Two goes, as far as what we know in terms of what each party is claiming about each other, this is pretty much what we have. I'd love to hear what your general thoughts are on this back and forth between Matto and Take-Two in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update and discussion video. Thank you for tuning in. To be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.